3 days passed, then another. Tom and Jackie had promised their sons that once the yacht was sold, they would begin the next chapter of their lives. They were planning to move closer to their family. But now, there was nothing. No phone call, no message, no explanation. Their sons knew something was wrong. Their parents didn't simply disappear. Even when there was nothing important to say, Tom and Jackie normally stayed in contact. So they tried calling. Again and again. Nothing. No one answered. The silence became impossible to ignore. One of the sons, the one whose wife was expecting the couple's first grandchild, decided to call Tom's brother. His name was Jim. And Jim wasn't just family. He worked for the Newport Police Department. The son explained what had happened. His father and Jackie were supposed to sell their yacht. They had already told the family about the buyer. They were supposed to be moving closer to their children. But it had now been several days. And nobody had heard from them. Jim immediately knew this wasn't normal. He told his colleague that something wasn't right. So the two officers headed to the marina. Maybe Tom had simply decided to disconnect from the world for a few days. Maybe the yacht was still there. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent explanation. But when they arrived, they saw well-deserved. The yacht was sitting at the marina. That should have been reassuring. Instead, Jim immediately noticed something strange. He knew his brother. Tom was meticulous about his boat. Everything had a place. Everything was maintained. Everything was kept clean. But now, the ropes weren't properly stored. The control panels weren't covered with their usual protective tarp. There was dirt, used towels, little signs that told Jim something important. Tom hadn't prepared the boat himself. Jim looked at it and reached a frightening conclusion. His brother must have already sold it. But if Tom had sold the yacht, where was he? And where was Jackie? Jim's next thought was the money. The couple had been expecting $500,000 from the sale. If the transaction had happened, the money should have appeared in their account. So Jim contacted the person who handled Tom's finances. Her name was Patricia, or Pat. He asked if she had heard from Tom. She hadn't. He asked about Jackie. Nothing. Then Jim asked the question that could confirm whether the sale had actually happened. Had $500,000 entered their account? The answer was no. Not a single payment. That changed everything. If Tom and Jackie had sold their yacht, where was the money? And if they hadn't received the money, why was their yacht already gone? Jim went to the police station. A missing persons report was filed. Tom Hawks and Jackie Hawks were officially missing. The police began retracing their movements. And one of the first people they needed to speak to was the young woman who had been connected to the yacht. Her name was Jenny. She was only 21 years old. She was pregnant. And she had a 1-year-old child. When officers questioned her, she claimed that she and her husband had purchased the yacht. According to her story, they had seen the advertisement. They contacted Tom and Jackie. They arranged a meeting. They took the yacht out for a test drive. And they loved it. Then came the most important claim. Jenny said they had paid $500,000 in cash. The officers asked for details. Who had witnessed the transaction? Jenny named herself. She named her husband. She named a friend called Alonzo. And she said there had also been a government notary present. That seemed important. A transaction involving $500,000 should have paperwork, and witnesses, and someone officially verifying the identities of the people involved. So at first, the story appeared surprisingly convincing. Jenny's account seemed to match her husband's. Then the officers asked Skylar the obvious question. Where had they gotten $500,000? Skylar had an answer. He asked the officers if they recognized him. Had they ever watched Power Rangers? Skylar claimed that he had earned the money through his work on the television show. The officers checked, and he had, in fact, appeared on the show when he was younger. So Skylar had a seemingly believable explanation for the money. But then, he volunteered something the police hadn't even asked about. Skylar admitted that he had a criminal past. He explained that he had previously served time in prison. He claimed that after his release, he still had money he had obtained illegally. And now, he was trying to make that money appear legitimate. In other words, he was admitting to money laundering. The officers were stunned. Why would someone confess to a serious crime during an investigation into two missing people? But Skylar kept talking. He explained where the money had come from. He described his past involvement with stolen drug money. And he told investigators that he had used the money to purchase the yacht. For the moment, the police had a problem. Skylar had confessed to something serious, but according to the information they had, he had already served his sentence for the underlying crime. They still didn't have enough evidence connecting him to Tom and Jackie. And there was another problem. The transaction appeared legitimate. There were supposedly witnesses. There was supposedly a notary. And there was a signed agreement. The police were running out of obvious ways to move forward. Then investigators searched well-deserved inside the yacht. They noticed something that appeared deeply disturbing, a mark that looked like blood. That immediately raised the stakes. A search warrant was obtained. The yacht was searched thoroughly, but the apparent blood turned out not to be blood at all. It was rust. Another promising lead disappeared. The investigation seemed to be hitting a wall. The police had a missing couple, a yacht that had changed hands, a suspicious buyer, a confessed money launderer, but no bodies, no direct evidence of murder, and no clear explanation for what had happened to Tom and Jackie. So the case was made public. Investigators turned to television. A missing persons bulletin was prepared. Photographs of Tom and Jackie were shown. Images of well-deserved were released. And investigators also circulated information about the SUV the couple had been driving. The message was simple. If anyone had information about Tom and Jackie Hawks, contact the Newport Police Department. The broadcast went out. And somewhere far away, someone was watching. The police received a call from Mexico. An elderly couple said they had seen the report. They didn't recognize the yacht, but they recognized the SUV. The police asked how they had it. The answer was strange. A friend had given it to them. The officers asked who. The elderly couple gave them a name, Skylar. The same Skylar who claimed Tom and Jackie had left the marina in that very vehicle. Now the story didn't make sense. According to Skylar, Tom and Jackie had received their money. They had been given the keys to the yacht. Then they had climbed into their SUV and driven away. But now, that same SUV was sitting in Mexico, and an elderly couple said Skylar had personally given it to them. That meant one thing. The story Skylar had told the police could not be true. Tom and Jackie couldn't have driven away in their SUV. If Skylar had later delivered that same vehicle to Mexico, the investigators finally had something, a contradiction. And this time, they could follow it. Skylar was arrested. He was taken to the police station, and the interrogation began again. The investigators told him they knew his story wasn't adding up. They knew about the SUV.
They knew about Mexico.
They knew the money story. And they knew Tom and Jackie were still missing. Skylar was now facing a choice. Continue lying. Or start explaining what really happened. The investigators didn't know it yet, but they were getting closer to the truth. And the next person they questioned was about to reveal the first major piece of the puzzle.